Hello everyone, welcome to Coffee Break. Today we will talk about the efficient using of the spectrum. So we will touch the three topics. First topic will be about the alien wavelength solution. Then we will talk about the power up your network by using the muxponder. And as a last topic, we will bring the data center interconnection to show how it could optimize the way of building the networks between two data centers. So let's start.
Okay, maybe we talk about the alien wavelength solution. This is quite new technology.
If we talk about the alien wavelength solution, I think that the very important is to focus how the alien wavelength solution could be done and who could benefit from it.
So alien, this is actually a very good question and a very good topic to start with, because it's a very frequently used application for several good reasons and for several customer use cases scenarios. So first of all, if we want to discuss what is an alien wavelength.
Yes, can we describe a little bit the technology?
Technically speaking, it's basically running a transport network over an existing third-party DWDM network. And first and foremost, of course, is for expanding existing network due to already existing limitations or maximized capacity. So whether it's a carrier or a service provider is looking to quickly and easily add more capacity, more bandwidth, and maybe some services on top of what they already have, or on top of the existing backbone network. And this is achieved by alien wavelengths, basically, by using the existing infrastructure of already the backbone infrastructure. We are able to, with our equipment, with PacketLight's equipment, very quickly to add 100G, 200G, or even up to 400G capacity per one wavelength. And using the amplifiers and even the ROADM system and everything of the existing infrastructure, give the carrier and service provider this much more in a very easy, simple way.
I think that when we talk about the alien wavelength, it's also very important to mention that the alien wavelength is not only the technology for the operator who already have the existing DWDM network. Because using the alien wavelength, it could be also beneficial for the enterprise, financial sector, because they also could use the alien wavelength services.
Absolutely. This actually is a very good point as well, because in many cases, financial sectors and enterprise have their unique requirements. And this involves a variety of mix of services, so ranging from Ethernet as well as fiber channel, protocol connecting their data centers or their storage devices, and encryption, which in many cases is government regulation or even country regulations and so forth. And by connecting to the service providers or carriers' backbone network, with our devices, they're able to create, so to say, a layer above of the existing infrastructure and achieve these connectivity services.
I think that very important is also to mention that there could be the different understanding of alien wavelength technology. Because when we talk about the big operators, when we talk about the leasing the particular channel, this is only the one way of understanding the alien wavelength services. Because alien wavelength services could be also leasing the OTU2 or OTU4 frame from one end of the network to the other end of the network. And I think that it's good to mention that with the PacketLight 1U devices, we could approach both applications.
So this is the quite compact solution.
Yes, all our products are in one in a very compact but scalable way. So if needed, then the
What do you mean
solution
scalable?
Yes. So if needed, then the solution can be expanded by cascading several devices, which kind of brings us back to the first scenario of expanding existing carrier network, where if more capacity is needed, just another device is added onto the network to achieve of another additional up to 400G. But returning back to the topic that you mentioned, this is absolutely correct. It gives transparent a channel, or TU2 or TU4 channel, to the client, and the end customer has now the control and ability to manage and deal with their network as they see fit and maximize the use of this OTU channel for their requirements.
So we can tell that there is three-side agreement.
Yes, so to sum up the alien wavelength subject, I think that with the PacketLight solution, we could cover all alien wavelength application. Either is done by the network operator to expand the existing network, either it could be used by the operator to sell the services when there is need to put the CPE on the customer side. Or if the enterprise customer would like to use alien wavelength, doesn't matter if they want to buy the particular band on the operator multiplex, or they want to rent they want to list the OTU4 or OTU2 services. All these applications could be equipped with the PacketLight devices.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The next topic we will discuss today is the data center interconnection.
Yes, actually, data center interconnection has become more and more important in today's society because of the amount of data that we consume and the amount of capacities pretty much growing exponentially on a daily basis. So the most proper way to connect DCIs in today's environment is based on fiber optics and, of course, based on the DWDM technology for maximum spectral efficiency. But another thing with the higher expected capacity is expected low form factors. So the devices have to be...
And the cost, of course.
And the cost, absolutely. Not only the initial cost, but the cost of maintenance. And that includes operating and the environmental costs, for example, the operating of server rooms and power consumption and cooling and so on and so forth. So really, our product vision as a company is to produce all DWDM and OTN devices in a very small 1U form factor, so like a pizza box.
So you're minimizing this solution, yes?
Yes, and really to have as disaggregated and aggregated approach as possible. So in 1U, we are able to include even the amplifiers and multiplexers, mux-demuxes, to deliver a truly 1U connectivity solution, which is CPE for the customer as well.
So it will be a very universal solution.
It is universal because it is very dynamic and can be assembled in different ways based on customer requirements. So today we can even deliver up to 4.8 tera capacity in just 1U device connecting data centers.
Wow, that is possible.
Yes, quite exciting actually, but again, with the growth of technology and advancement of optical modules, we as a manufacturer are based on integrating standards-based optical modules into our technology. That's just to ensure the compatibility, as well as to enable the customers to follow the growth of the capacity and advancement of technology without throwing out the old technology. So with this in mind, with the introduction of the 400G DCO as well as other 400G modules, we were able to integrate this into our 1U devices and together provide between 400G to, like I said, 4.8 tera. And in some environments, even over long distance, we can provide very high capacity as well.
I think that it's worth to mention that on one hand, we have a very powerful device in terms of how much data we are able to put into the pair of fiber. And on the other hand, that on the client side, we could also mix the services. So it means that we don't need to focus on only 400G interfaces, which are now coming to the data centers, but still very popular are 100G interfaces. So this is also the power of 4000G solution we were discussing, which on one hand allow us to give 4.8 tera over the pair of fiber with all integrated in pizza box device. But on the other hand, we still could use 100G interfaces on the client side. So this is really powerful solution. But when we talk about the data center interconnect, we also need to mention, I think, about the previous technologies, so 200G or 100G aggregation, because it's still needed and required.
Absolutely, because many customer interfaces are still operating around 10G and 16G fiber channel. This is the switches that customers operate, and your data centers need to meet these unique requirements. But at the same time, they need to have 10G, maybe even 40G, as well as 100G in the same connection. And our muxponder technology enables the customers and data centers to offer these to their customers by aggregating many lower rate services into higher capacity of whether it's a 200G or of course the 400G capacity, and also even 600G capacity going into a metro environment.
If I could understand, every of this solution have the minimalist form.
How is it possible to have minimalist form?
It's a small form.
Yes. As I mentioned before, we have our product vision is to create aggregated DWDM solutions in very small form factor, 1U and CP compliant. So it is the smallest power, smallest cooling required, lowest cooling, and of course lowest latency, which is very important for data center interconnect. Because let's keep in mind that we're talking about financial institutions and enterprise that really needs the lowest latency for transmitting and communicating with their data.
So never mind if this is the 100 solution or 200 solution, always
or even 400 solution.
400 solution,
it all
always
is
1U.
Integrated into 1U, absolutely. So muxponder solution is really what is the best fitted for the DCI interconnect.
I think that very important is also to mention that the solution is compact. We know that now there is more and more popular the vision of using the IP over DWDM, so installing the transceiver directly into the network equipment. But this, in fact, do not allow us to mix in the different kind of servicing inside the single channel, inside the single wavelength. So if we talk about using the spectrum in an efficient way, using the muxponder or using the technology which allow us to have the same line speed all the time, but mixing the different services to fulfill this speed, is really the way which help us to optimize the spectrum efficiency. I think that also the really important is that with extra device, like for example 4000G, when in pizza box we have closed multiplexer, demultiplexer, EDFL, transponder or muxponder, and it's all closed in the very small footprint, we are also to set the very clear border of responsibility. So where the IP division in the company finish their work and when the transmission division start their work.
Absolutely. Layer 1 demarcation.
Exactly. So if you are looking for a layer 1 device to help you to carry more data in data centers, the PacketLight pizza box solution would be the really efficient one.
Mm-hmm.
Next subject we would like to touch today is the increased spectrum efficiency. And to talk about this, we will bring the subject of muxponders. And we have today the Nino with us from the PacketLight, the world-class provider of the equipment to build the DWDM and OTN network.
Muxponder use is really very popular lately, especially when we're talking about having a variety of mix of different services connecting between data centers or offices and in a metro environment or even in a long-haul environment. And the idea is really to take multiple lower rate services that can range from Ethernet, 10G, or even lower rate Ethernet services, together with even fiber channel or STM services and video protocols, aggregate them into one or two higher capacity line ports or line signal, and then transmitting. So what this allows is really a maximum use of either leased line or leased dark fiber pair for the end customer. Now, in addition to this, what we allow are PacketLight's disaggregated 1U chassis actually allows aggregation. So it's an aggregated virtual chassis, but it could be in 1U. And cascaded on top of each other. So what this means that the segregated chassis allows building of a future-proof DWDM network.
So this is a very easy to install solution, yes?
Yes, it's very easy to install and easy to expand.
Okay.
And you're not limited by today's technology. You can always add new rates as technology grows and advances, and we see newer rates. For example, today we have standardized 400G transport per wavelength per optical uplink module, but it's already 800G scenarios where we have 800G will be coming out probably pretty soon, available on standardized optical modules. So with our technology, you can start even with a 200G connectivity, aggregating multiple 10G Ethernet or even fiber channel together, and then add another device for 400G and even 800G as the customer requirements grow. So with PacketLight devices, we have a truly pay-as-you-grow infrastructure and never having to throw away your old equipment.
So it's completely different approach than when we have with the chassis approach, because chassis approach usually have some backbone, and this backbone have limitation. So first of all, we need to invest a lot to buy the latest available backbone speed. But even if we do such kind of investment, after a few years it turns out that there is the new technology and we are already not able to install the new card to the existing chassis. And as I understand what you say correctly, it means that with the PacketLight, it's completely do not happen with the PacketLight devices, because the disaggregated chassis infrastructure is in fact cascading them only on the management side.
Exactly.
So the new technology is just new 1U device. So that's why we are able to use today 200G, tomorrow 400G, and day after tomorrow 800G technology, just cascading them using the management interface.
Absolutely correct. And this really gives the flexibility to the end customers to start with today's requirements, but not be afraid to grow and expand their resources as they need it. Additionally, that I want to mention is flexibility per port configuration on our muxponder devices. Of course, we have a whole family of transponder products, but when we're talking about muxponder, again, it's the mix of the different protocols and different rates and services of each protocol. So, for example, a customer may have 10G Ethernet, 16G fiber channel, and another 40G Ethernet, and another 100G Ethernet that they need to transmit.
In the same time?
In the same time. And
Brilliant.
we can achieve this in the same device. And the configuration is without licenses. So customer has absolute freedom to configure each port to support whatever rate and whatever protocol they require. Of course, within the limitation of the 200G or 400G total capacity.
Okay, but how did it look like with the encryption?
Right, very important topic. Do you want to say something?
I just want to ask the question about the standardization, because we also mentioned about the cascading from the this disaggregated chassis approach when we cascade the management interface. But as far as I know, we are also able to cascade the device because of the standard OTN transport.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
If we want lower speed, we could use the older version of the chassis and just aggregate the lower speed services to the higher speed and then use the bandwidth even more efficient way.
Absolutely, and this is a very good point, because we're always talking about growing and more capacity, but the truth of the fact is that there is still older, smaller rates, lower rates that are very actively used in many applications of 1G, even lower rates of STM, and when we're talking about video transport, then we have the video protocols as well, which are in Ethernet at lower rate as well. And with our devices, you can have a 400G backbone or even a higher capacity backbone, but able to transport all the way from fast Ethernet to 400G Ethernet on the same network with this OTN compliance and standardization.
And very soon 800G and the next technology, when just the optics will be available on the market.
Exactly.
So we can build a very complex system exactly in this moment when we want.
Absolutely. Now, the topic of encryption is very important, and the point is a lot of enterprises are faced with what to do encryption on layer 1, which is what we're talking about, DWDM layer, transport layer, or better to do it on layer 2 and layer 3. Actually, the studies have been done, and it's been proven that by applying encryption on layer 1, the customer achieves a maximum bandwidth throughput, pretty much 100% throughput and almost zero loss of bandwidth and throughput power as compared to MACsec layer and IPsec layer. So in fact, it is a very effective thing to apply encryption on layer 1. And we have pretty much in all our devices encryption available, which is standardized and certified by the leading certification laboratories of FIPS and common criteria, which allows the customer full security over their transport network.
But how did it looks like with the latency in encryption layer 1?
Latency, this is very going together with the zero loss of bandwidth. It's also maintains zero loss of latency. So really the lowest latency application that can be, because as I know in the layer 2, layer 3, encryption adds a lot of overhead over the data itself.
Yes, so for the layer 2 and layer 3 encryption, we need to take into account how big will be the packet, because the smaller packets are, the more bandwidth will be consumed to provide us encryption. So it means that if we need to encrypt, for example, voice or any other small packages, then the efficiency of bandwidth will come even to 50 or 60%. If we talk about the layer 1 encryption, we will always have the 100% of bandwidth available. So this is the one of the key point. One, the layer 1 encryption is much better. The other comes from the delay, from the latency. So this is also something which is a key parameter. That doesn't matter if we enable encryption or no. We will have almost same delay, because the delay of the encryption chipset for layer 1 encryption give us the delay similar to 1 kilometer of the dark fiber transmission. So we could almost forget about this delay.
Yes.
So summing up the subject of the muxponder, we need to say that the muxponder help you to optimize the bandwidth, allow you to provide the layer 1 encryption. And if we talk about the PacketLight solution, this is the solution with, thanks to the disaggregated chassis approach, help you to always have a newest technology available to integrate with your existing devices. So this is something which is really powerful and worth to consider.